Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Spacing Out. I'm Jason McClellan.
And I'm Maureen Elsberry. Thanks for joining us.
We took a few weeks off because of the holidays and because we're wildly busy preparing for the 2014 International UFO Congress. But we're happy to be back so we can get you caught up on some of the UFO and space stories that have made headlines recently.
According to a new study, researchers believe that Earth-sized planets can support life at least 10 times farther away from their host stars than previously thought.
Researchers from the University of Aberdeen and the University of St. Andrews recently published a paper asserting that cold, rocky planets previously considered inhospitable to life as we know it may actually be habitable beneath the surface. Phys.org explains that the team of researchers created a computer model that estimates the temperature below the surface of a planet of a given size at a given distance from its star.
The abstract for the paper explains that the team looked at life on Earth, pointing out that Earth has a deep biosphere. So why not include subsurface environments on other worlds when considering habitability? Subsurface liquid water maintained by internal planetary heat could potentially support life well outside conventional habitable zones.
So the team introduced a new term, Subsurface Habitability Zone, which denotes the range of distances from stars in which rocky planets are habitable at any depth below their surface up to a stipulated maximum, and show how subsurface habitability zones can be estimated from a model relating temperature, depth, and orbital distance.
PhD student Sean McMahon, one of the team's members, explains that the deepest known life on Earth is 5.3 kilometers below the surface, but there may well be life even 10 kilometers deep in places on Earth that haven't yet been drilled. He continues, using our computer model, we discovered that the habitable zone for Earth-like planet orbiting a Sun-like star is about 3 times bigger if we include the top 5 kilometers below the planet's surface. If we go deeper and consider the top 10 kilometers below the Earth's surface, then the habitable zone for an Earth-like planet is 14 times wider.
According to Phys.org, our solar system's current habitable zone extends out as far as Mars. But taking subsurface habitability into account, this redrawn habitable zone would see the zone extend out farther than Jupiter and Saturn. The team's recent paper was published in the journal Planetary and Space Science.
A crop circle recently appeared in the Salinas Valley near Monterey, California. The BBC reported that 2 friends discovered the crop circle just before sunrise on Monday, December 30th. They claimed they noticed strange bursts of green lights while driving south of Salinas. So they pulled over, started recording video, and ventured into the field.
The formation had a large ring in the perimeter with 3 circles of various sizes on it. Inside the circle was a square-shaped object with other strange shapes. The next day, stories emerged about Braille experts reporting that the formation repeated the numbers 192 over and over in Braille. Other people noticed that circles on the perimeter of the ring were at the 1, 9, and 2 positions on a clock.
A local resident told NBC affiliate KSBW, "I'm a skeptic, but this could be aliens. I don't know. I'm always willing to believe something, so I mean, and if there's proof, you can't deny proof. But right now it looks like aliens to me." But crop circle researcher Nancy Talbot immediately suspected that the design was man-made. She told the Monterey Herald, "It looks very mechanical. It doesn't look the way most of the genuine circles I've worked on look. That doesn't mean I'm right." British crop circle expert Colin Andrews was also skeptical. He said he thought it might be a publicity stunt.
And it turns out that both Talbot and Andrews were correct. On January 5th, the NVIDIA Corporation wrote a blog explaining how they hired crop circle makers to create the formation. They wrote, "We simply couldn't think of any other way to explain that our new Tegra K1 processor with 192 graphic cores can do things no other technology, on this planet at least, could."
The blog also says the company was surprised by how much press their crop circle got. They stated, "While we were hoping to get the word, we didn't realize how big this thing would get." The story quickly went global, with websites and television stations as far as Mongolia and Hungary reporting the story.
NVIDIA also posted a video explaining how and why they created the circle, along with a healthy amount of promotion for the new processor. That video can be seen on our website at openminds.tv.
Travel was recently disrupted at Bremen Airport in northwestern Germany when a UFO appeared multiple times on radar.
According to German news site The Local, the UFO showed up on radar at Bremen Airport several times between 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Monday, January 6th. But the unidentified object was also reportedly seen by air traffic controllers in the airport's tower, as well as by local police officers. The object was estimated to be flying at a height of approximately 1,000 feet.
Once police had been alerted to the UFO's presence, they attempted to intercept and identify the craft. A police helicopter searched the area where the aerial object had been reported, but the UFO could not be located.
Because of the UFO's presence in Bremen airspace, the local reports that a flight from Frankfurt had to be canceled and a second flight from Munich was diverted to Hanover, while another plane coming from Paris had to stay airborne for a while before it could land.
Although no physical description accompanied the original reports, media outlets later amended stories to include witness descriptions stating the object looked like a plane but was a lot louder, and according to the local, a spokesperson from the German air traffic control described it had normal lights, red and green, and an approach light on both sides.
Authorities in Bremen have been unsuccessful in identifying the unauthorized intruder at Bremen Airport.
An Iranian news agency alleges that documents provided by former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden prove that an alien extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy and has been doing so since at least 1945.
The Fars news agency asserts that the shadow alien government running the United States is based in Nevada, and these aliens previously ran Nazi Germany. The Washington Post reports, as proof that aliens were secretly behind the Nazis, the report explains that Germany built hundreds of submarines toward the end of the war, far more than would have been possible with mere human technology. But the Post continues, it does not explain why aliens with access to interstellar travel built subs that were so grossly incapable against the British Navy, or why all-powerful extraterrestrials were unable to help the Nazis resist an invasion by Allied forces that are mere cavemen relative to their own technology. So far, these are pretty unimpressive aliens. It was apparently after losing the war that these aliens established themselves as the secret controllers of the United States government.
Fars News claims that Snowden provided documents proving these allegations to Russia's Federal Security Service, or FSB, and Fars News further asserts that the claims were recently confirmed by Canada's former Minister of Defense, Paul Hellyer.
The news agency alleges that Hellyer was given access to all of Snowden's documents by FSB, and he confirmed their accuracy. It was reportedly short after this that he appeared on Russia Today's program Sophiko, where he announced that aliens had visited Earth for thousands of years and that several are working with U.S. Air Force in Nevada.
But Hellyer's statements on Sophiko are hardly confirmation of recently seen documents acquired by FSB from Edward Snowden. Hellyer has been outspoken about his extraterrestrial belief for years. He even spoke about these same issues at the 2013 Citizen Hearing on Disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
According to Fars News, Russian authorities are most concerned about the confirmation that extraterrestrials controlling the U.S., known as the Tall Whites, are the same extraterrestrial race behind Nazi Germany's rise to power during the 1930s.
As the Washington Post points out, Iran's semi-official news outlets have something of a reputation for taking conspiracy theorism to the next level. The only source Fars news agency cites to support these incredible claims is the conspiracy website whatdoesitmean.com. And I think this is kind of a ridiculous story because I don't think that the government has anything to fear about the U.S. being controlled by the Tall Whites personally.
Yeah, and you know, these aren't new allegations or stories. These theories have been around, and it doesn't need Edward Snowden documents to bring these up again. But it's surprising how much press this is getting because it came from a semi-official news source in Iran. But you know, I don't think it has anything to do with Paul Hellyer's statements on the news, because he's said those over and over and over every chance he gets. So kind of a ridiculous story in my opinion, but a lot of people are taking it seriously.
Even Forbes.com jumped on the bandwagon with reporting this news, which
well, when the Washington Post writes about it, you know, a lot of people are going to write about it. So really every mainstream outlet is going to write about this story. It's going to make the rounds, but I wouldn't take it too seriously.
No. Conspiracy.
Well, a story that I thought was pretty interesting was the report of the Bremen Airport in Germany, where this UFO was seen on radar. I love the radar reports where they actually get the object on radar, and more importantly, when we have these stories where we hear from people in the towers and from local police, because, and we talked about this on Open Minds Radio with Alejandro, that, you know, in the U.S. specifically, in a lot of these cases, we don't hear much from the people at the airport when UFO sightings happen at airports. It's kind of brushed under the rug because they want to continue this illusion that, oh, there's no way anything unknown could be in our airspace. Everybody's safe, everything's cool.
Right, and I was really intrigued by this story as well, and this came right after the UK airport story where a pilot had ducked, seeing some sort of unidentified object. I will say that the descriptions that are now coming forward from witnesses are a little disappointing in the fact that it sounds more like a conventional aircraft.
Yeah.
But we still don't know where this aircraft came from or what it is at this point.
Yeah, they still have no identification. Who knows? And it's a case with a lot of these foreign stories. We hear about them initially, and then, you know, don't really hear much about them later. Hopefully we'll hear more because they were investigating it. But another interesting nugget with this story was the fact that when it was initially reported by German media, there was no description of the craft.
Right.
Absolutely no description from the statements from air traffic controllers or the police. Then, later that day, those same stories were amended to include comments with descriptions.
Jason, are you alleging a conspiracy in this story?
This story has conspiracy written all over it. Now, there are people who are wondering about that, because I found that fascinating. They were speaking directly to these people who had observed the object not only on radar but with their eyes, yet there was no physical description given.
I found that odd as well.
And then later, all of a sudden, we had complete description of what it looked like, the color of lights.
It was louder than a plane, but it looked exactly like a plane.
Right.
And it is interesting because, like you pointed out, are they going to continue to investigate this? Because, like one of the most famous UFO sightings that's still a mystery to everyone is the Chicago O'Hare 2006 sighting, which we still don't know what that object was, and it was sighted by air traffic controllers. And
that's a prime example where, you know, those people saw it, and then we can't hear from them because it gets hushed up. But you mentioned the London incident, and got to give props to the Airprox board there. It's an official government body there who's tasked with investigating near misses, and they do full-on investigations of these cases, and I think that's great. I hope other governments around the world take note and follow up with that, because they're really one of the only groups on an official capacity taking that stuff seriously. And really, come on, this is happening a lot where airplanes in the sky are almost crashing into things and they don't know what those things are.
Right.
So you would think people would want to find out, look into that, and see what's going on.
Exactly.
So good job, Airprox board. Well, that's all for this episode of Spacing Out. Remember to visit our website, openminds.tv, for all the latest news. And if you're a podcast listener, go to openminds.tv/radio and check out Open Minds UFO Radio with Alejandro Rojas. Make sure to click on the like button if you enjoyed today's show, and subscribe to our channel so you know when we'll upload new content.
Also, do not forget to register for the 2014 International UFO Congress.
Yes.
We're working very hard on it. It's coming up in just a month, and it's the largest annual UFO conference in the world. And it's only a few weeks away at February 12th through the 16th in Fountain Hills, Arizona. And you can find out all the information at ufocongress.com. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm Maureen Elsberry.
And I'm Jason McClellan. We will see you in the future.
If you have a UFO sighting or something you would like to report to Open Minds, you can go to our website at openminds.tv and click the contact button to send us your request. Or you can email us at contact@openminds.tv. You can also call us at 1-877-UFO-0110. That's 1-877-836-0110.